Hi, this is Dr. Ralph Wilson with Web Marketing Today. I'm in Chicago at the Search Engine Strategies Conference here with Andy Beal. Andy, you've been around the internet for a long time in various capacities, but one of your specialties is reputation management. If someone tries to trash you on your company on the internet, what to do about it. So let's talk a little bit about Google reputation management and what's involved. I mean, what do you do?
Right. Well, a lot of people, their first encounter with Google reputation management is they type their name into Google or the name of their company into Google, and something shows up that they don't like, whether it's a negative review or somebody attacking their company or their customer service, and they panic. And so what we try to look at is replacing those negative web pages with something more positive, because Google looks at this and says, look, in the absence of anything positive about you, we're just going to fill it with whatever we can, and it really doesn't matter. So unless you've been proactive in creating content that's relevant to your brand, relevant to your name, Google's going to go spidering the web looking for whatever it can, and that may end up being something negative.
So what I want to do is it's in the area where someone searches for my brand or my company name or my personal name. I want to have other content that'll come up that I can control.
Absolutely, and the best thing to do is to start now with that, right? You don't want to wait until something negative starts showing up in the search results, because by that time it may be either too late or it's going to be a lot more work to get that pushed down.
So how would I start with this process?
So, you really need to focus on the quality of the content that you build. A lot of people just look at this and they start creating all kinds of different web pages, but focus on building quality content, things that are relevant to your brand. So for example, if you don't already have a company website, or if you don't already have a website up that's about you, or even if it's just a simple resume, register your name, host some content on there, link to it from any other official websites that you have that are related to your brand. Start a blog. Go to WordPress and just set up a simple blog and have, for example, andybeal.wordpress.com. WordPress is very trusted. If you added a few blog posts about who you are and what you do, then that would quickly move up into the top 10 of the results.
Now, do these need to be on separate domains, or could you have several articles on your same domain about your company?
Well, Google really tries to reduce the occurrences of multiple pages from the same domain. So that does allow us to have up to 2 pages from a single domain within the search results. So for example, if you search for Andy Beal, you would likely see 2 pages from andybeal.com, but you wouldn't see 3.
Okay.
So then I need to look at other websites that I've created or social media profiles, and try and get those pages to rank. But you are going to be limited to 2 pages from any one site.
Or maybe a new domain like weloveandybeal.com.
Hey, if someone wanted to build that would be great. But I don't have quite the ego to go ahead and build that myself. But yeah, you get the point. It's got that kind of domain name it would rank relatively well because it includes an exact match in there for my name. And then especially if it were somebody that created that and filled it with their own content and talked a lot about Andy Beal, it would rank well.
But you may have to go up against someone that has a andybealsucks.com domain.
Right.
So thinking about even that part ahead of time might not be a bad idea.
Absolutely, and in fact, for a lot of companies, one of the things we suggest is go ahead and register those domain names now, especially for startups. You may be squeaky clean now, and you may not worry about it, but if you have any concerns that you've got some flaw in your product, or you think you might come under attack, $8 a year, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and register these yourself.
Right. Now, how do you optimize that once you get it going and get it up there?
Well, the key thing is, I think, the domain name. Certainly, if you can get your name in the domain name, or if it's a profile page, make sure that it includes your name. So, for example,
the title needs to include your name, for example, or your brand.
Yeah, and then a title tag needs to include it. The title on the page. The content, write about yourself in the third person, especially if you're doing this for yourself. Don't talk about the fact that I am this or I do this.
Right.
Talk about yourself in the third person. So for example, when you go to andybeal.com, it says Andy Beal is, or Andy Beal is the CEO of, because I'm deliberately optimizing that content so that when Google comes along and takes a look at it, it sees that it's highly relevant. And then the second component of that is getting other people to link to those pages, to those websites, using that same anchor text that Andy Beal or Tracker, which is one of my company brands, and just trying to help those brands to rank well. Okay. And then one last tip is especially if this is around a company, you technically have what I call the super brand. And so your company name is likely going to be number one. Your company website, you're going to be number one. Therefore, if you create a quality page, a quality profile, if you link to that profile using your company name, you're essentially saying, hey Google, I am the number one brand. I am therefore passing on my trust to this other page. Can you also rank it in the top 10 for the search query?
So how does Google react to you filling the first 10 entries on their search pages with your content?
Well, Google's pretty trusting in its algorithms that it can detect any kind of spam attempts. And so it was just recently that Google published their own post that said, hey, reputation management on our search results is absolutely fine, and here's some basic suggestions. And so they did that because Google gets a lot of requests from people that say, hey, there's a negative article written about me, can you please remove it from your index?
Right.
Google is like, no, we can't remove it. But go ahead, here's some techniques that you could try to create positive content, and if it pushes down the negative item, we're absolutely fine with
Now,
that.
if you were the Chinese government and asked the same thing, it might be different.
It might be a little bit different.
Andy, thanks for sharing with us.
My pleasure.
Tell me about your business and what you do.
Well, right now I'm focusing on Tracker, which is trackur.com, which is a reputation monitoring service. So we basically help businesses to keep an eye out for anything that's mentioning their brand. Still writing Marketing Pilgrim, which is an internet news site. And for any other projects I have going on, just go to andybeal.com. You'll find them there.
Very good. Thanks, Andy. This is Ralph Wilson with Web Marketing Today.